Hello and welcome everybody to SimFest 2022, and we are some of the people that are working on PowerWash Simulator from developer FuturLab, and we're just going to go ahead and intro ourselves and then talk about what we do and just talk about PowerWash Simulator and then play a little bit of the game later on, so stick around for that. So I'll start. I'm Josh, the community manager on PowerWash Simulator. I basically interact with the community, do all the social media, and talk to the content creators, and generally pass on all of the feedback and stuff to the developers themselves. So I'll pass on to Sophia.
Hello everyone, I'm Sofia. I'm the senior quality tester in PowerWash Simulator. I worked in PowerWash since the very beginning, so it's great to be here, and I will pass on to Peter. The other
Hello
side.
there. Yeah. Hello there, I'm Pete. I'm the lead programmer. Yeah, I started on PowerWash very early on our demo. And besides just helping out with planning and discussing features and priorities on the game, also have my hands on from now every now and then because, well, someone has to create the bugs that Sophia tests, right? So that's part of my job.
Sophia actually drops in a QA meme every Monday. She hasn't done today, actually.
I totally forgot.
You totally forget. So those are usually like, oh, the developers made this cool feature, but hey,
yeah,
there's some bugs.
I have to make fun of someone every week, so you know.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for community to be maimed, but you know.
We'll
But
get
yeah,
there.
yeah.
This is the time to tell the community that it's not a QA guy, it's a QA girl.
So just for context, at the top of the Steam screenshots, I think of the highest rate of all time, there's one of the biggest levels called the Treehouse, which is like kind of the Marmite, if you know the UK expression. Some people love it, some people don't love it so much. Because it's massive and there's lots of little details, so the joke's sort of like poor QA guy or something, isn't it? Like he's like going mad for playing like 100 times. Is that accurate, Sophia?
It's a long level, so
Yes.
testing it does take quite a lot of time.
How many times do you reckon you've completed it?
I wouldn't know. I also have my secret weapons that allow me to do it a bit faster than everyone else.
That sounds like cheating.
No, that sounds like super testing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever completed a level without cheats myself.
You're not meant to admit that on this stream.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's shameful. Shame on me, but yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
It's
even
okay. I have completed it enough for everyone, I think, because whenever there was an issue, I had to play the whole job, so from start to end.
I've played through a lot of the jobs, but I always don't remember which ones I've cheated at and which ones I haven't. And like sometimes I'll start a level that's sort of cheated, or I use a power wash that's too strong. Dev hacks are just too tasty to use.
I think that it's a good point. Like before players start to ask themselves and create some really hot topic somewhere in some forums. Yeah, did he cheat? That we don't have cheats exposed to the players. So don't try to come up with some up down down key or something. There's nothing like that. At least not yet.
You have to take them out quickly before it goes live. But yeah, if anyone's just tuning in, PowerWash Simulator is pretty much, as the name says, you power wash in the game, and it's in early access for Steam, and it's definitely been evolving over time because of early access, because of community feedback and honestly an overwhelming response that I think took us all a little bit by surprise, but also is massively heartwarming to us.
And very helpful.
And very helpful. Yeah, I think we're very lucky that there's so many people giving feedback and really useful feedback. It's not just kind words, it's a useful actual, like, we want this feature, or like this feature isn't enough, or whatever it is. It's massively helpful to us. And I'm often putting them into Excel spreadsheets and then passing them on to the dev team, just going, whoop, there you go. But also, yeah, the game is basically power washing. It's like that oddly satisfying action. I don't know if anybody watches TikTok videos or just GIFs, or there's a Reddit completely dedicated to the power washing, and it's just very much like going from dirty to clean, and that sensation is extremely satisfying, and I guess we help that along. And then around that, there's a whole career mode that adds a story and people dive into the lore. But maybe we talk about, I guess, the response so far. I think, I don't know about your experiences from not being a community manager. I think I see it on the front line, but you guys probably also experience it looking at Steam reviews and other stuff.
Absolutely, and I think the sole fact that my friends know about PowerWash, and most of my friends don't play simulation games, that says a lot. And you know, working in a game like that has its own challenges, and I probably do play the game a bit different than the people that enjoy it outside our team. But it is great to hear how it has affected people of different walks of life, and with some actual problems to just relax and just enjoy a different gaming experience.
It's by far the most positive experience I've had in almost about 18, 20 years working as a game developer. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think on my end it speaks massively that it's much easier to market and interact with a community that's very positive, but also that the game is just a great game, and people do love it. And I think we've had an outpouring of positivity. And Sofia mentioned slightly people helping people. I think a lot of people have said some very positive things about how it's affected them day to day, and I think that's also massively positive. And I guess something that you can feel as working on the game that you're doing good, I guess, is
Yeah.
a little bit. But you see that in Steam reviews and other places. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, no, not having only a game that is like commercially successful. I mean, like we're still doing it, and then things are progressing well, and but also getting this, just the love we're receiving from players. Like it also like creates some extra pressure, of course, because we feel like, okay, we have to actually keep up that high bar. Like we cannot just let our players down. So it's a challenge, but on the other hand, especially for example during pandemic when we started making the game and we got feedback from players who were going through some difficulties with isolation and depression, or having children with ADHD or some like social difficulties, and like just being able to focus on the game and zone out for a few moments, for a few hours, and just enjoy a good time without actually thinking too much about everything else. And it's been such a like gratifying thing to just see that happening. And it's, yeah, to me, it's over like the game is overwhelmingly positive on has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, but like I'm also overwhelmed by it. Like it's by far the most positive feedback I got from players in like almost 2 decades. And again, like not only saying, "Oh, this game is great" or "This game is not so great," but like also telling how it affects them on a personal side. It's not only about having a fun time. It's more than that, and it's great to see that.
It's also great seeing people helping other people when they need
Yeah.
assistance or guidance, and having this whole community that works for us.
think
Sometimes it's
I,
amazing.
I know that you lurk in the Discord because you don't want to get bombarded. I think pretty much. So I'm the public one in there that'll take all the public questions because I have the time to do it. But you often see people going in and creating groups, and then them going in multiplayer, which is something we added recently. Going in and then finding the dirty spot that somebody's struggling with, which I think you touched on, but it's kind of really heartwarming. And sometimes if like they're maybe younger or they're not like as experienced in like these sorts of games, they might be just like, oh, okay, thank you so much for helping me find this dirt, and then they'll drop off, and then they'll be like, okay, we're back to just chatting on the Discord. I think that's something really heartwarming and nice to see. It is genuinely a very wholesome community.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fun. Like when we first introduced, well, when we first started to discuss the multiplayer feature, there was of course some doubts on how much it would change the game, because until then it was solely just yeah, single player, like very like a very slow paced experience and everything else. And then suddenly we introduce multiplayer, and well, all hell can break loose, right? Like everything can happen. And like we were kind of afraid of, I don't know, players becoming a bit more toxic, or just fooling around and not, I don't know, just making it a different vibe to the adding a different vibe to the game that wasn't really what we were looking for. And like generally, of course, there's a bit of everything going on now with multiplayer games, but generally speaking, it's great to see exactly this sense of cooperation. Like, so the co-op modes is actually like, we don't even have to push that hard, I guess, to get that, because it's kind of a natural thing for people to just play. Of course, you cannot like shoot each other or do real harm or make anyone lose or anything, but yeah, I think it's kind of almost natural for people to just step in and just stop helping each other and just maybe chat, just hang out together for a few moments and have some fun. And it's a very different experience. Like I myself, for example, I very rarely play any multiplayer games, because almost every single time experience has been super negative, so I don't really come back. And I think this is a great game to just break that stigma, I guess, and just actually be welcoming for new players, for a change, right?
And if some levels take forever to finish, it's always nice having some help.
Yeah, some levels do take quite a while to finish. Yeah.
There's something you touched on, Sophia, earlier, was about some people thinking it's just another simulator game. And I know we're in the SimFest, but there's quite a few new simulator games that are sort of pushing the boundaries, I think, being more than a sim sometimes. And I think in our own way, the way I guess we push the boundaries of what simulator games used to be expected to be, we sort of have like a whole story mapped out from start to finish for our career mode, and the designers and the artists and whoever else are like putting that story together to show people what that story is through text messages in game from clients, through dirt art and graffiti in the game, and then that turns into a story that's slowly like leaking throughout the whole experience of the game in the career mode, which will actually eventually in 1.0 tie up, and you'll know sort of the full story of what's happened, which I think is something really cool, and I think people appreciate that's an added extra, I guess, to the experience of just power washing.
I think it's the whole game has a lot to offer, and it is very adjustable to what you want from it, because even the story is not in your face, you can just completely ignore it and you're not missing anything. If you just want to wash, you can just wash, and you can tinker with the audio so much, which is, I find, amazing. And you can choose whether you want to listen to the music in certain levels or you want more ambience, less water sound. I think it's amazing how adjustable it can be, and you can get exactly to what you want it to be for you.
I think one of the things that's really cool in the game is that audio slider. I think we sort of tried to say it was like an ASMR mode, but we have had some ASMR creators go on and then they play around with the audio to then have their own audio over the top of it. But it is very much that you can pretty much change most of the sounds in the game if you don't find a certain sound relaxing. Some people don't like the water sound, for example, and you can pretty much turn it off or turn it really low. But some people love it, so you could turn it up if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
There's cool stuff like that just running in the background.
Yeah, it's definitely a major factor in the like satisfying like factor in the game. Like, well, satisfying is the main word, right? That's been driving the game development and the feedback. Like we hear it so much. Like it's pretty much the first thing we hear from people when they start playing the game. And it's pretty cool to see how that satisfaction comes from like, yeah, I would say, well, of course there's the satisfaction of seeing like we always focus on the high contrast in between like the dirty and the clean areas, and how to make them like how to make different like objects with different shapes, different colors in different lighting conditions, being like which are dirty with different kinds of dirt, like how to make that appealing when you wash them, like because the combinations of colors and factors can be huge, and how to make that appealing, how to make dirt look appealing in its own ground, even before you wash it. But of course there's the audio like side of it, which we're talking about, and there's not only like the satisfaction you get from just like tuning, like fine tuning the exact soft spot you would like to hear, like each level for each kind of sound you have in the game. But also a massive factor there is just the things we get, like so the pace, like that sense of completion you get, because every time you wash a sub part of an object, you usually well, if you wash anything 100%, like you just get a ding, and like the pace of those dings, and like that's actually a design routinely discussed every day on our being between the team here, like how to get that to be the most satisfying as possible, which is a fun thing to think about. What's the best pace of dings we can get. One thing that I'd like to mention is how the game has evolved since we first started working on it, and like how it changed, like how we were actually finding out what the game was, like based on players' feedback as well from early access, but also just finding out what things people were like willing, like more happier to be washing around, like, and how big those things need to be, and what kinds of dirt, and like how difficult it needs to be or should be for you to get access to those things. Should you actually use a scaffolding or a ladder or something? And yeah, so definitely, like, not only visually but in design and in all aspects, really, like the game has evolved so much. Like the levels are getting bigger, and like we started to have some dynamic objects as well. So the carousel and the big wheel spinning, and introducing some difficulty sometimes, but also giving you an extra layer of just interaction and just being fun in general to interact with. And it's great, like, to see that, and like being able to every few weeks put that out and see like how people react to it, and see which direction should we go next.
I mean, with the levels, we ran a survey that had like 4,000 people drop in their opinions on each level, rated 1 to 10, and it was interesting just to see how popular a lot of the levels were, but then some were just incredibly popular, and you could just from that helped to see, like, people do love those big high contrasts of color, and they love large areas, but also like just that connection with the community, and having that much feedback has just been incredible all the way along. And I think the levels have definitely evolved over time, partly because of the story, but also just in reaction to what people, I guess, have told us they like.
I think it's also worth mentioning how the dirt is a whole concept by itself, and there's so much work and research put through that to have the right dirt on the right components, so you can have rust on plastic and so on, and how some of our newer dirts can be a bit sparkly or shiny, and they stand out, and a lot of the time using the correct power washer will allow you to appreciate the layers of dirt differently, which I even find very enjoyable.
Yeah, and even as I said, like, depending on how you play the game and which washer you use and how you do it, you can also uncover some piece of the story, right? So telling a story through dirt, that's something that it's not really common, I guess, in games, and it's been a funny thing to see evolving over time. Like, I don't think that even like us in the development team had any idea when we first started where the story of the game was leading us to, and it's getting like more fantastic and more elaborate by every day. And I can't wait to see like the players' reactions when they see where this is all leading to. Like, there's some really cool things coming up next, which we cannot talk about yet, but yeah.
I guess like it is so hard, isn't it, when we've got really cool features that we're working on that we know like are going to be amazing, and maybe even like blow up what people expected from the game already, and like it's positive, and then some of the maps that are coming are just so, I guess, out there that people wouldn't guess them. I think it's exciting that we know that that's coming. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, I think it's even more like, to me, I find it really interesting when I see people on Twitter or I don't know, Reddit or anywhere, like just discussing the game and like and made some really wild guesses, and some things are completely off, but sometimes they actually get some things like weirdly right. Like, they think like, how do you know this? Like, this is exactly what we're working on, but we cannot mention it at all. So just, okay, let's just keep it there. Like, you'll find out, you'll see, like, what we've been doing all this time, but sometimes it's weirdly close to the target. But again, they can only find out when we make it public, right? Which
It's just either in a teaser. Sometimes the teasers come out like in the devlogs or on the socials, and then I guess we have a little bit of fun with some of the levels before they launch. But otherwise,
Yeah.
you have to wait until the patches go live. And
Yeah.
as early access, there's regular content updates that drop, so there's always, I guess, for us something to talk about. But there's a lot of development that goes on in the background. I think the community and people looking in probably don't see. There's a lot of work for us, I guess, to focus on 1.0 and the stuff that we can't necessarily talk about, or it just is so technical. It just is just something that's going on in the background that isn't fun to talk about. I guess people don't always see. I don't know if...
Yeah.
I think it is worth mentioning that it's not as simple as just putting dirt everywhere. Like the dirt process, the dirting process goes through so many stages of designers and artists making sure that it looks good and it feels right. And then I have to go in and make sure that it is completable and it is enjoyable and so on. So it takes time to have a level ready for people to enjoy.
Yeah, it definitely takes much longer time than I guess that most people would anticipate. Yeah, it's a much more complex. Because when I think about it, there aren't so many games that allow you to modify the environment at this scale, right? Some games are focused on this, of course, but generally speaking, it's not that common. Like sometimes we have some games with some small mini games or features where you can wash some stuff or clean it or anyway like make it wet or whatever, but like for you to be able to wash a whole like fire station, for example, or something, like it's not something we really see, like being able to modify pretty much the whole environment around you. And of course I think that's something Sofia can definitely talk about in more details, but I find it really cool to see how the levels have been evolving and growing and scaling up in various ways, but at the same time how we've been able to find like some variety. So how to make the game feel fresh on every update, even though the game itself is the same. You have to wash stuff, but for example, as Josh mentioned, one of the most popular levels early on was the skate park. But then a level that, as far as I know, it's like lots of people enjoy as well is the subway washroom, right? And which is the complete opposite. It's not like open sky and blue sky and everything. It's like really like enclosed and tight spaces, but it feels really good to play on that level, right? So why do you think is that, Sophia?
I think it's the combination of the kind of dirt you have and what you reveal under it. I think the sunniness of the tiles in the washroom is amazing. But yeah, I think for me as well, washing the skate park and the washroom is an amazing experience because it's the contrast that you mentioned before, going from black or dark brown from like all these colors in the skate park and the shiny, bright white tiles in the washroom. And I think it also makes a big difference because it then not only looks clean, but it looks bright and it gives this feeling of happiness that you don't really, I don't know, you don't easily get from a game. It's just a feeling of completion that it's.
I think for the washroom as well, it's like at the skate park, a lot of people like the flat surfaces, but there are in the washroom itself there is like floor type massive large areas of floor tiling, and like the walls around it are also quite similar. That there's quite big chunks, and people can just zone out alongside like details. Like
I think another thing that we learned through the process is that it's more enjoyable to hear a lot of those dings than waltzing endlessly and not, a massive wall and you never get to that. And I think that's another thing that the washroom does very well, that it is split into a very, very good pattern that you hear those dings and you feel the sense of progress.
Should we hop into a game and just
Yeah.
show off the game a little bit? I know I'll give you a second to both jump in. So yeah, again, we're playing co-op, so it is co-op. 3 players up to 6 players, and that's where you can go back and replay levels you've completed in the career mode. And then the career mode itself is 2-player. If you want to basically work through the level and with the levels and unlock new levels and equipment. I'm just going to turn on my audio, seeing as it's turned off at the moment. Everyone's in. Let's go.
Can we use like super power washes, or do you want us to wash it like
do what
it's
you
meant to be washed?
want. I gave myself the washer that. So this is the very first level, the PowerWash van. I think it's just actually called van. Sorry. But yeah, this is the very first level, which every player will see first. Although we are playing with newer equipment. Which one are you using, Pete? Is that the?
I'm using the 3000.
That's
Yeah,
the 3000
kinda
as well.
cheating a
Okay,
bit.
yeah, cheating a little bit. Okay, well, but yeah, I don't know if you guys want to clean. I'll clean as well. I've turned down the water volume, so I'll just show people. We were talking about it earlier. Like you can change most of the audio here, so you actually go high, low. But just for the fact that we're talking, I'm gonna keep it relatively low.
I always get like tunnel vision when I watch this. I'm like, oh, I have to do it as fast as possible and as well as possible.
The dings are very loud. I think that's non-diegetic volume. That means not natural sounds, right? I think.
Yeah, I think that controls the sound of the changing nozzles and extensions.
I think one of the interesting things that you can see now we're playing the game is that people have very different tactics. I mean, I don't know whether Sophia's having any tactics or she's just washing as fast as she can. But some people. Yeah.
I think it depends on what I test. Sometimes I just need to test the completability, which it doesn't matter how I wash it. I just need to be able to complete it. Well, other times I have to test the threshold so I can see, okay, how much of the surface you need to wash for it to complete, where I need to be a lot more precise with the way I wash. But when I play the game, I want to be as precise as possible. So, my time lapses are the best, right?
So yeah, we'll see a time lapse in a second actually, but the time lapse is one of the features that I guess.
Yeah, I think just a quick Easter egg here. I think it was nice to show, like, since we have Sofia on the call, like, show the CarPlay. It's not a coincidence. It's
Did you complete the level to try and block the number plate there? I saw that. But yeah, how do you feel with having your name on the back of a van in a game? Surely that's the pinnacle of game development.
For me, that was I don't know, the best moment of my life. Working in the video games industry was a dream come true. And having my name in a game that means so much for me is, and it's almost in every level. So there's a part of me in every level.
But yeah, so I guess there's two things on here that we sort of jumped over, but there's a to-do list. This was actually added during early access, I think, after the first launch. Was it 0.
I think it was 0.4, yes.
0.4.
The second update.
The second update. I think one of the feedback I think we got was people struggling to find when it gets to 99%, there could still be quite a few pieces left. So it just tells you in a quick to-do list where those pieces are. And also, I've gone into the GIF already. There we go, I can play again. Anyway, just as I open up the GIF, let's go over the end replay. I guess this is something that's really fun as well, especially when you have multiple players, is that the game will do a little fun replay, basically a GIF in a fixed camera location of the level. Don't know if you have anything more technical to add on how this works, Pete, or...
well, so one of the challenges there is to make... to have these screenshots to take it without bloating our save data and also without harming performance too much, because of course it's a different camera than the one that you're using to play the game. And we take one screenshot every 1% of completion you get. So and sometimes, especially on small levels like this, that can happen in like a quick succession. And just to make it as lean as possible. So, for example, now we have over 40 levels in a game. So if we have to take like 100 screenshots at a reasonably high quality, and for 40 levels, that's a lot of images we have to keep track of, and especially multiplayer matches, like how to keep that like as compact as possible so the experience isn't hard, because it's a really cool feature. People do absolutely love this, to see the time lapse in the end. So yeah, it's been a constant challenge to quite try to squeeze some bites out of it to make it as quick as possible.
So what
And
level
to
should?
begin with, there was no player there, so now
Yeah,
it's even
different.
better being able to
Yeah.
see yourself.
yeah.
It just looked
around.
like a ghost before, didn't it? A lot of people memed about the fact that there was the PowerWash ghost that was just floating around and completing a level, but now no, there's
Yeah.
a person there. Which level should we go on to next? I mean, we could. We were talking about the treehouse thing as
Yeah, we can try that.
okay.
That would be a nice time lapse to watch if we manage to complete it.
Yeah. Did we talk about the biggest meme on Steam for the treehouse? I can't
I
remember.
think we did.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
This time.
This time, I'm gonna switch over to a better power washer.
Yeah,
Let's
you
go
should.
Urban X is probably the way to go.
No, you have to use the Prime Vista 3000.
Oh, okay, 3000 you'd have at this point?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
It's
I
not
mean, it's-
You
cheating.
should
okay.
have it.
It's
No,
been
it's not
a while.
cheating.
It's been a while.
I'm
You
gonna be
should-
embarrassed by Sofia's technique now because I really suck at this game.
My technique.
full thing.
Yeah, my technique is like having done it so much that I know when things complete, so I don't have to bother too much. Yeah.
One of the cool things, I don't know if you both watched some of the tournaments recently, but there's a almost like not an esports scene yet. I mean, that's too going too far saying there's an esports
We're getting
scene.
there, right?
Yeah, but there
One
are
day.
there's speedrunners, and at the moment there's a speedrunning tournament for one of the community streamers, Smite. They're doing a 2v2 tournament, so 2 players on each team will be timed either side on a level, and are trying to speed wash the level as quickly as possible. I guess that surprised us how many speedrunners there actually are. There's a speedrun.com page already with people getting world records for certain levels on each update.
Every now and then I just look at that, and I mean, for me, I think the level I played the most is probably the van. So I try to make sure I can beat the fastest times in that.
Have you beat the
But-
world record? Do you?
I haven't checked it for a very long time, but last time I tried it, which was a couple months ago, I did beat it. So I don't hold the current record though,
Yeah,
so that's for sure.
Video proof or
Yeah.
Well, challenge accepted.
and you're also playing a different version of the game. I mean,
Oh, I'm not cheating without cheating.
without cheating, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting seeing that so early on in early access as well. It's a massive thing. We're going through here. I've obviously turned my audio down quite a bit, but there's a lot of dings. They were definitely working on quite a few things in the background, and something that we're going to share soon is a big one, I think, that could quite literally alter the game for a lot of people. But I'm not going to say what it is.
No, you can't say
Yeah, I can't
more.
say what it is, but soon. It won't be long. But yeah, I mean, I guess sort of the cool things about the game, and we're sort of showing it off here, is that you could very much just relax and zone out, and that's helped a lot of streamers and content creators that we've all been enjoying watching. I think it's often that in our Slack channel, we use Slack as devs, there might be somebody who throws in a YouTuber or a streamer that they really like, and they've covered the game. But there's quite a lot of people picking up and just they're able to talk over it. It's like a background activity that they can zone out to whilst telling really cool tales and whilst relaxing with their own communities, which I really like seeing.
I think it's also interesting seeing some of the more hyperactive streamers not having much to say because they enjoy the game too much.
Yeah,
I think that was really fun.
I think there's 2 ways to go. Either they completely zone out. I've seen some that just to put up really loud music over the top, and then just like they don't say anything for 5 minutes, and it's just like, oh yeah, that was good. Back to streaming. or it is like they could talk all the time. They're talking about like childhood memories or like whatever it is. They're going into detail whilst playing a game essentially. I think we're also blessed to have so many big content creators cover us quite early on, and it helped show people that the game was fun, I guess. Being a relatively small dev studio and getting the word of the game out there, when not everybody, I guess, understood that PowerWash Simulator was going to be fun to begin with, because it's not violent. There's no like like there are objectives, but it's not like you have to do something. That there's very much you just chill out and enjoy the experience itself, just for the experience. And I think people watching content creators play it gave people a lot of the context to why the game is fun. And I think if you see the game being played, or you play it yourself, you can better grasp why the game is so fun.
Yeah, I think, and besides showing like the audience how the game can be fun, I think it also was a good introduction, a good way to show them how the game can be accessible. I mean, like how it just maybe like, because it's quite a, like as Sofia mentioned, like there's like all sorts of players that come to this game, like some hardcore players and some people who barely play any games at all ever, and how do you attract those players who are not really like regular players, like just something that might be, I don't know, if you see a screenshot of the game or a video, it might be a bit challenging or daunting at first because it looks like an FPS, right? But how to show them, okay, no, you don't actually need to be extremely skillful and like have like rapid reactions to play this. You can just take your time, do what you can, and just enjoy like whatever experience you want to get from the game.
But also on the flip side, there is skill. Like some people are incredibly skilled as well. There's like I guess there's a low bar of entry, but also a high bar of like being able to get these amazing times. And I think the physics in the game are definitely interesting, but I think the players like that, and sometimes they're using the physics to speed up their runs. And there definitely is skill if you want to put the time in and you want to be good at the game. You definitely can be, as well as just generally it is chilled out. There isn't any pressure, but if you did want to be good, then there is definitely a high ceiling too.
I think it's also interesting how the designers try to put small puzzles in the game without making it too hard. For example, in the Karza level, you have the poles going up and down, so you need to be very careful how you're washing to get the entire pole when it is exposed in order to complete the job. So there is more to it than you would initially think.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning at this point, we've done 34% between three of us, and Sofia's completed this level like 5 million times. So there's definitely a lot of content in the game. If you
for a multiplayer, it can take you like up to an hour plus to actually complete it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your average is on this level now that you have the skills.
I think takes me with the correct equipment, which is the Prime Vista 3000, and a lot of the time when I do these tests, I do not use the cleaning liquids because I need to be more precise. So if I were to use the cleaning liquids, it would be even faster, is what I'm trying to get at. So it takes me like an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. So
but it was like a 3 hour at the start, so you can get better at this game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and some of the times are just mind-blowing sometimes. I know that the vans have been done like in like a matter of seconds. I don't think it's even minutes for the world record at the moment on speedrun.com. I don't know what yours.
That's crazy. I'm not seconds yet, so I need to try harder to beat the current world record.
Yeah, I don't know whether I might be completely wrong here, but I thought it was below a minute, but it might not be.
I think also it's worth mentioning about the soap and how it changed from the start, because at the beginning you could have like an endless amount, but then it was changed to an upgrade so it can feel more rewarding when you actually get to use it. I personally enjoy using soap, but at the same time I like how much harder the lines of the rest of the nozzles are when I'm washing. But what do you think? Do you like using the soaps? Is it your main way of completing a level?
I think there's two camps, isn't there? A lot of people say they don't use soaps. I personally don't really use them at all much, but I think again it's part of the game that you can take it at your own pace, and some people want to use a soap, and for us it doesn't. Does it matter to us if they complete the level slightly faster or they can clean an area slightly faster? Like It's not like we want to punish players, really.
No,
You play like how
absolutely
you
not.
want to play.
But you know, it's really useful when you do the challenge mode, though. Then you need to utilize it in order
Yeah.
to do the best time. So it creates a different game sometimes.
Just for context for everyone, there's a challenge mode in the game. There's a timed and water. It's not on every level yet, but essentially you're given a default loadout, so it's like a certain power wash, a certain amount of soaps, and it gives you basically have to beat a time to get gold, silver, bronze medals. And there is like Sophia says, there's a tactics meta, I guess, in what you clean first, what areas you clean with the soap, because the soaps are good at cleaning certain surfaces like just metal or like wood, whatever it is. You have to like think, I'm going to that area first, clean it with the soap as quick as I can, and then move on to another area. But another player's approach to that might be different to get a better score.
What are you washing? It feels like I'm washing about myself.
Yeah, I mean, I keep moving my hands to talk, and then using it. When
So
we're
that
talking
nice
about...
excuse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
excuse. I mean, we could move on to another level. I feel like we're never actually going to complete the treehouse in time. We could go on to another
Yeah.
vehicle quickly. Let's have a
Sure.
look.
All power washers, at least with the red nozzle, they can wash any type
Yeah.
of dirt, which it can be, I guess, difficult to wash with the red nozzle an entire item. But I also, what I do when I try different ways to break the game is use a soap. The soaps do a very good job, even if you don't have the best power washer to wash a surface that has a very hard type of dirt that you need a better power washer for. For example, in this job, it is the oil that the pipes have, and just using the soap, you just completely clean them within seconds. So there's always a way around, thankfully. See, when I do this, I can't talk. If I talk, then I can't do it as well. I have to focus.
I know, I feel like everybody's slowly quieting down with this level.
Yeah.
I feel there's a few more details on this one. The treehouse, like a lot of it's just like big areas where you can just zone out. Here you're looking like in different angles, like, oh yeah, there we go, in this little groove. There's a little bit of dirt with a dirt finding tool.
I think that's another level to the game, that sometimes there's a smaller job that you think, oh, that's going to be fast, but that's where the designers have
Yeah.
implemented harder dirt, so then you can spend some extra time trying to get rid of all the oil and the rust of the small details, so you can really enjoy the different types of dirt.
Yeah, and also playing with how hard it is to actually get to the best places to wash each part, right? So some of the larger levels you have to, I don't know, just climb on stuff and like, I don't know, getting some awkward positions and angles to wash it correctly.
Yes.
And so yeah, and while some other levels are really straightforward, just walk to it and wash it, and that's it. So,
I think now that you mentioned the climbing, what I enjoy in this game is the ability to parkour almost everywhere. It's also a challenge to find the best way to get to places without using the accessibility equipment.
yeah.
Maybe you can show the subtask highlight now that we
Oh,
have
yeah,
very
yeah,
few
okay.
things.
Okay, so this is one of the features that I think we put in relatively on actually, to find things. So you can actually click on any of the details and it will show you via flashing what that detail is. So I think I just clicked off it. Top hatches, yes, so it's flashing white. So we know that this thing is definitely still a little bit dirty. It stops flashing once you start cleaning it though. There we go.
There you go.
All clean. Let's have a look at another one. The underside hatch. Okay, I'm guessing that's underneath. Oh, there we go. I'm guessing on the hinges, yeah. Just one of those things that makes the game easier if you want to make it easier for yourself, I guess. Right?
Yes, or if you're stuck and
Yeah.
sometimes you might not know a very specific item that is called the way it is. Like I'm not an English speaker. I mean, I'm Greek, so sometimes I read an English word and I'm like, oh, what is that item? And that helps you spot it. So it's very helpful.
One of the interesting things is a lot of the buildings do look sort of American-esque, I guess. But then because we're a UK-based dev team, the like colloquialisms, the phrases are all in like UK English. So some Americans do struggle as well to know what a hatch is, or a boot, or a bumper. So that's been interesting to see. That would be like a thing that I guess this helps with if people are stuck. Thought, could anyone have actually guessed that this was coming? Like, I don't think the community members would have guessed that this would be a level. A lot of people actually asked for a monster truck. It's interesting because we keep an eye on like what the requests are for levels. We actually have 3 levels coming that community members have requested, but then also voted on. We ran like a voting system on Discord, which a lot of people took part in. There's the fountain, the mini golf course, and the steam locomotive coming in the future. But the monster truck, everyone knows about those. It's fine. But there was a lot of people asking for a monster truck, but then we were all just in the background like, yeah, it's coming. We've almost pretty much finished it. I think that was just before that finished. So yeah, it's been cool seeing all the requests.
I don't have high expectations that the community is gonna guess what the latest less levels are.
No,
these are harder to guess, I would say.
I think.
Have you teased them at all, Joe?
No,
not yet.
No, because there's. I think when this update goes live, which may be before the stream is going on, because it's a replay and it may be back in time, but yeah, there's things, if I showed them off, they wouldn't make any sense, but also would spoil the lore slightly. So I can't show them without spoiling them. I think there's like the area I think I've spoiled a little bit, but then it doesn't really give any context to what it is. Like, you couldn't guess it. But people do though. Like, I think we showed a gnome being dropped off a cliff in a desert, and that's all people have seen so far. But yeah,
I think some of the levels coming in this update are probably my favorite. So
yeah,
I hope that everyone enjoys them as much as I did.
I might just jump across back to the chat window. There we go. Then we can come out the game and have a few final words. Do you want to talk about the water system and anything technical?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah, let's see what's interesting there. I don't know. What do you think it would be the most interesting bits that people would like to know?
I don't know. For a programming side, I mean, I don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us like how, like, very simplified, but how it actually recognizes the different layers and washes and all that, and like that we have different thresholds and I don't know, water powers.
Yeah. No. Let's see where to start, but yeah, the game's basically a game where we have to, well, on the technical side at least, like if you have to put it very simple, it's a game where we have to just clear pixels from textures, right? So where our designers and artists, like, they paint the level, we have some tools to do that, like just apply different kinds of dirt to different regions of the objects, and those paintings, like that action, like, is saved to textures, which when you play the game, like, you just when you turn on your washer, we just fire lots of raycasts, like just start hitting the scene in various points and see what we are hitting on those objects, and then we paint a tiny region around we clear a few pixels around each area you hit, and of course, depending on your the washer you're using, the equipment, and also how quick, like how distant you are to it, and like how quickly you're moving your washer or your player as well, your character, the washing power, how much we clear from those pixels changes, of course. So it's not like a binary thing where it just, like, it's either dirty or clean. You actually have 256, if you want to be really exact, levels of dirtiness or cleanliness there, if you prefer. And each point you hit can have up to 3 layers to 3 different dirt types stacked on top of each other, and you always have to clear the top one before you get to the bottom one. So, for example, if there's graffiti and bird poo on top of it, you cannot clear the graffiti before you clear the bird poo. and the topmost dirt types are always easier to clean, right? So you always start from the lighter ones until you get to the really encrusted ones that usually require more time or just a stronger power washer. So yeah, in summer that's more or less how it works. The challenge there is just to make I think it's more on the how to make it performant and how to make it relatively easy and quick for designers and artists to build that, like to make it nice for fun to play, to make it look good to look at, and of course make it run well, right, without exploding your memory, your PC memory. I remember early on in the project, our director's instructions were something like, well, I want this game to be playable on my mom's laptop. So yeah, I don't think we're quite there. I mean, we can play on some relatively old laptops, but we know that we have some optimizations, some tweaks to do. But yeah, we've partially met that requirement. We can play on some laptops, maybe not his mom's laptop, I guess, but who knows.
I think it'll be interesting for us as well. We don't have we haven't played PowerWash Simulator on the Steam Deck yet, but we're all excited to see, I guess, the first few people playing it and the feedback I guess we get on that as well. That'll be an interesting one to come in. I think we've all been hoping that someone would post about it. There's been quite a few news outlets or people that have played the game and loved the game talk about the game because it's been verified on the Steam Deck. But we're like, we need to see it in action. We need it in our hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't tested it myself yet, but I really expect it to be an amazing experience. I'm personally looking forward to a Steam Deck, and I think the game would look and play really well there. It's
an interesting one, I think, from us as well. There's a Proton database at the moment that says whether a game runs quite well, and PowerWash seems to be quite good on there. I think it's like Platinum or something. And the only problems were from before we had two different wash systems, the Legacy and the normal. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think the Legacy requires a shout out as well, because that was something that was created within a couple of, I don't know, days, just to adapt and let other people that couldn't play PowerWash at the start to play PowerWash. It was amazing. It was an amazing job that Peter did the other way.
The team did, yeah. It was quite a bit of a terrifying moment because the game came out, and it is quite a different games in many ways, that as we talked about, but also on the technical side, it's not a game where you just jump and shoot things and test collisions and stuff. There's a core to it, a technical core, where if that doesn't work, nothing else works, right? And that core wasn't working on some PCs at least, and so basically people would launch the game and would walk around, shoot spray water on stuff, but nothing would happen, and that was a bit worry, let's say. And we sorted out, we found out it was due to kind of a slightly unforeseen requirement on the graphics card side. So we required a very specific capability that is not really easy to spot on most graphics cards. Like when you buy a graphics card, it's hard to tell whether it would support that feature or not. But yeah, so it took us quite a while to detect what the problem was. Fixing it wasn't as hard, but finding out what was wrong was really difficult because, well, our PCs were running it, right? And 98 or 99% of the players were running it as well, just fine as well. So what was different on the ones that were have problems? But yeah, it's one of the interesting, exciting moments of game dev, I guess.
Yeah, and it's automatic now, so you don't need to actually
go
and do it in theory. And if you did, then you could, in theory, go into the setting. But I don't think I've really seen any reports, community or that side of people that haven't automatically had it switched over. But
yeah, that seems to be pretty stable by now. Yeah,
I think from my end, that was the first major let's get into action stations. Need to get communications out. We need to work out what this is. Get all the reports over. On the community side, oh no, something's not working for a significant amount of people. Let's how do we fix this? Let's pass it on to the devs, and then you
Yeah.
obviously came up with a solution that worked,
Yeah.
and then we haven't really heard about it again.
Yeah.
And to go back to what Peter was saying about the wash system, you can use the different distance and different nozzle and different power washer to actually create your own paintings and drawings over the dirt, which is very fun to see the community share the different pictures that they draw over. So you can make a lot of games out of it. You can enjoy it with your very own way.
I think a lot of the time, the first thing people draw is rather rude, but once they move past that point, there can be some really good art. And yeah, there's actually like a dirt art section on Discord, and I think I usually sift through the Steam screenshots to see what the community members have been creating and sharing it if I can, with saying who created it. And there's been some amazing things. I think I see like Mario and Scooby Doo and loads of different characters that people have drawn like meticulously well. It looks like a good drawing, but it's actually just with a power washer in dirt. Like that's crazy. And that was actually something that was sort of part of the design early on. I think we did know that that was going to be a feature, and I think there were more thoughts earlier on how to nurture that, but I think it's sort of just done it itself almost.
Yeah, it's really great to see how it turned out, because that was one of the most important questions we had to answer when we started making the game. Like basically how precise needs the washing needs to be, and like how many layers, like how many like what's the range there in between dirt and clean, and how big levels are and everything. And it's great to see what people came out with. Like, so as you said, like some of the dirt art out there is absolutely amazing. It's mind blowing. Sorry. But also now with the new multiplayer feature, I think it's there's a new layer of emergent behavior coming from the game, which is how many other like kind of mini games or other like challenges people can create within the game that is like in theory quite dull, right? Like you just wash stuff, but when you I remember really well when we first got our very first working multiplayer build, and we had our weekly build reveals, and there was a bug at the time where we could like have like I don't know a dozen people playing one level. It was absolutely madness. It just crazy, but it was so much fun as well. And just seeing like what people started to just pick like one physics object and just throw them around and jump on top of other people and just push them around and reach absolutely crazy place or like high places in levels, and anyway, do lots of things that we just could not anticipate at all. And I think there's a lot of that coming up next over the next like I mean not only from the players, but also I think it's something that we can't make any promises, because I honestly I don't even think we have like a design for it, or like the decision on what's desirable there yet. But there is definitely something to explore on that section. Like, so what of these mini games and physics games and all the other multiplayer challenges can be pushed like further and expanded upon and maybe become new game modes? I don't know.
That early access lets us explore that.
Yeah.
And that question, like what do people want, what are people doing, what could we like, how can we react to what people are doing and make it better? I think that is pretty much us. We hope everyone else has a great Simfest this year, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of it. And yeah, just showing off PowerWash Simulator, and we hope everyone has enjoyed what we've got to say today, and has been either really blown away by some of the insights from Sofia and Peter, or generally just looked at the game and thought, yes, that's for me. And I think, you know, like we said, like once people see the gameplay, I think it clicks as to why PowerWash Simulator is so fun, and we hope that you'll give it a try. And yeah, it's in early access, so we're still improving the game. So if you want to become part of the community on Steam, in the forums, on Discord, on Twitter, or wherever it is, we look at all of the feedback, what people are saying, and about our every update. And I think every update is making the game better every time. Anyway, we'll see you all soon. We do run devlogs, and we try and get the devs into those devlogs with quotes on what they're working on, and onto streams if possible, if we have enough time. But yeah, so keep an eye out on PowerWash Sim stuff, and thank you all for watching. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. See ya.
Bye.
Bye bye.